Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you're coming from. Apologies for admitting people late. We came from a meeting that took a bit more time than expected, but nevertheless, we're very happy to have you here today. Today, we are going to have a lesson or a session on a circular economy and waste management. And this is a very critical part of our restoration activities. And for that reason, we were able to bring an expert in sustainable solution, who is a sustainable solutions developer. So Saverio Danubio is our expert today. He's a sustainable solutions developer, especially specializing in bio-waste transformation. He has a lot of years of experience, working. He's currently in India, but also has worked with entrepreneurs or organizations in Europe and also in Africa. I do not want to continue talking more about him. So at this juncture, I'll just give him the opportunity to introduce himself, introduce who he is, or, his experience. And then he can now, delve deep or dive into, the presentation that he has prepared for us in the circular economy and waste management sector. Otherwise, welcome, Saverio Danubio. Happy to have you here. And feel free to take it over from here.
Hi, Victor. Thanks for the nice introduction. And hello, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. And yeah, here where I am, it's late evening, but eventually there it's afternoon or even morning. As Victor was saying, I'm a sustainable solutions developer, industrial biotechnologist regarding my education. And I decided more than 10 years ago, and maybe it's better that I start sharing my screen. Okay, so I don't know if you can see the first slide. Please, Victor, let me know if I'm sharing now.
Yes, we can see your screen. Thank you.
Okay, so I was saying that yes, over 15 years ago, I decided to leave laboratories in order for me to be able to share my knowledge on biotechnologies applied in different fields, but especially regarding the sustainable solutions. This was an incredible journey because then I had the possibility to work for non-profit organization, mostly in Asia, Europe, and Africa, and to be able to provide benefits, manipulating microorganisms in mesophilic, thermophilic, aerobic, anaerobic conditions, but then also macroorganisms, and later we will see the insects, and to obtain in this way valuable goods out of so-called pure material, or when you want to hate it, you call it waste. But at the end of the day, the products were very important, like fertilizer, like feed, and like food. I have been also mentor for the Land Accelerator in the last years, expert advisor for EIT Food Finland, technical analyst for Investments Fund, Green European Capital Grant winner, and so on, involved in other situations. So I want to start with this fancy cow that is praying that nobody will eat her tomorrow and says, eat more bugs and less meat. This might sound just like a selfish observation from the cow point of view, but in the reality, there is a lot more in this message, and we will see later why actually eating more bugs might be beneficial for everyone. From this view, we can see the land occupied for the production of 1 kg of meat, so of protein. So the difference is quite substantial if you want to compare what is coming out from the cow land occupation, and an adult cricket. But the difference, it doesn't stand only in the land occupied. You have also to understand the efficiency of these two possible livestock in terms of water consumption, feed conversion rate, labor required, and also the emission. What are the bioproducts generated by these livestock, and the emission in terms of CO2 and the possible pollution that then they generate. And here we come. This is a global overview of what is the land use of our planet. This is the Land Accelerator, and we believe in the sustainability, and we want to get the best out of our land according to the good practice that are available today, and that can reinforce the entrepreneurial activity of many of you. But it's important to understand, yes, we all want to support land-related projects, but what is the land that we have available, and what is the use of the land that we have today? So, and here we come with 29% of the surface of our planet occupied by the land. So it's maybe not a lot as some may think. And then only the 71% is habitable land, and 50% of these 71 is dedicated to the agriculture, another 37% to the forests. And then if you see little, there is just a 1% dedicated to the urban and the build-up land, and 1% of fresh water. Imagine, we have just 1% of fresh water, and that's why we have to preserve it. That's why in the coming years, the fresh water will become the blue gold, as someone is already saying now. But let's go back to the land, and what happens of this 50% habitable land dedicated to the agriculture? 77% is related to livestock, meat and dairy, and another 23% is then dedicated to the crops. But what it comes out is that the total calories and the total proteins are not coming from this massive amount of land occupied, but rather from the 23% dedicated to the crops. So we feed ourselves for, in some cases, feeding yourself is a necessity, like you have to introduce nutrients, but today, luckily, we feed ourselves for pleasure, for having that amount of calories and protein, but also to have a tasty meal. But look at what actually is the look at how the bare necessity could be covered, reducing the land occupied, and how in the reality then it is dedicated. And here again, cereals allocated to food, animal feed, and fuel. So these are cereals that can go on everyone table. So through the years, usually these data are never updated to the year before, but you can in somehow follow the trend. You can see that through the almost last 50 years, the kind of 50% of the cereals have been allocated to the human consumption, but something that it's equivalent almost to the 40%, it goes to the animal feed. So the cow was saying, let's eat more bugs. And now for someone, maybe this suggestion, it starts to make sense. It starts to take a structure. This is the global land use for agriculture across different diets. And in these different 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 diets, it's possible to see what will be the land occupied if we all were vegan, and what is the land occupied in the recent years with this global diet. It's interesting to see once again how the cropland, it takes a smaller fraction that the pasture, and then going smaller in terms of land occupied, we migrate from several billions, like 4.13 billion hectares, to just 1 billion if we all were vegan. So with this, what I want to underline, I'm not vegan, and I'm not inviting everyone to become vegan, but these data should in somehow show what is the current situation, how eventually problems related to the nutrition, problems related to how to feed the world can be solved. And what it comes to my eyes is not the almost 3 billion hectares dedicated to the livestock, to pasture, to to provide what is needed to the livestock, but rather the 500 million hectares dedicated to the animal feed. So basically, we are occupying an immense surface just for feeding our next food. And considering also the amount of water required, and we have just said that water is the gold of the future, the amount of labor required, the cost related to that, the antibiotics and pesticides, the investments in terms of machinery and so on, and the emission. Yeah, we have to consider that this is an activity that generates a lot of emissions. And so it's quite impressive data that we have to keep in mind. So let's now go deep in what these 500 million hectares dedicated to the animal feed can be equivalent to. Here we see the shares of cereals allocated to the human food. And as we can see, the countries in the light colors, from yellow to light green, and then going little by little to bluish and intense blue, represent the countries that are from the less efficient to the most efficient in terms of cereals allocated in the human consumption. It's interesting to see that until 2017, the cereals consumed around the world had a very different ending, if you want to say that. Look at the United States or Australia, how they so little efficient look. I mean, by this visual, it seems like that 10% or maximum 20% of the cereals that are in these countries are dedicated to the human consumption. And then somebody might wonder where this food is going on. Is this food all going to the waste, is perishing or whatever? Here it's a focus on Africa. Luckily, Africa is so efficient, it's so virtuous that can, in most of the country, have a percentage close to the 100%. Well, we can assume at least an 80%, if you want to say Africa-wise. And this is very important because it means that the efforts for having this agricultural activity at the end arrive directly to the table. But what is the trend? Unfortunately, it seems like Africa is following the rest of the world, and the trend is, as in the case of the Ethiopia, the trend is showing a decrease in the efficiency of cereals allocated from the 99% to the 66% in a time frame that it's not very large. So it means that things are changing very quickly, and perhaps in another 20 years, if this trend is not adjusted, Africa might look alike with like the rest of the world. So we could define Africa one day inefficient in the cereals allocation as the rest of the world. Feeding the world. We are talking about land occupied. We are talking about cereals and other crops that are not allocated to the human consumption. But so, what is produced and where all of this goes? So let's see what is the production of soy. Soy is considered to be the master protein source for the animal feeding, and is produced in important quantities in several countries around the world. We can see that United States, Brazil, Argentina, India, China produce considerably quantities of soy that are typically above the 100 millions. The case of Brazil, it's 150 millions, and in the recent years, also Argentina has increased importantly the production of the soy. But like, as some of you might know, this has a cost. Brazilians are strongly fighting about the extension of this soy cultivation, because basically for every hectare of soy cultivated, there is an hectare less of the Amazonian forest, without counting the use of the possible use of glyphosate and other chemicals that then are polluting the land, the nearby citizens of the villages, the Amazonians of those areas, and then this soy in some way has to go somewhere. So these chemicals and pesticides will not remain localized there. What this slide doesn't show is the standards adopted by this big superpower, by these big nations, because no matter the fact that China, India, and USA have a good production of soy, they don't like to export. They understood that soy means animal feed, and having animal feed means having affordable and possible livestock and having food. So they are considered something like a national asset. But let's stop 1 second now after this consideration, and we, I guess, now can reconsider this world map, because farming is of everyone's interest from the North Pole to the South Pole. So if everyone wants to farm, And generally talking, soy proteins are the main source for livestock. We have just a couple of countries that are open to export, and this creates a problems when a valuable asset is in the hands of few producers. That's never a good thing. The market in this way can be controlled, and if you have a good commercial partnership with that country, then you have eventually some favors. But if you don't, eventually you become the last of the list. And when this country is not behind the corner, eventually there might be some issues. And another factor to consider is that there is nowadays the climate change, and the climate change can affect productions if the global farming is directly related to a specific localized production of a good, in this case the soy. It means that, as in the last season happened in Argentina, that there was a drop of the production. I don't remember, maybe of the 10%. Suddenly, the cost of this soy meal goes up to the sky, and suddenly there is a farmer that cannot farm. There is a farmer that cannot feed the livestock. This is another slide that actually proves that all the soy you have seen in all that dark blue you have seen, and it was 150 million tons for some countries. It's all allocated into processed animal feed. Well, there is a biofuels, but trust me, it's a very negligible portion. Compare this green line with the black one, with the direct human food consumption. Unfortunately, there is no doubt that it's almost the 90% of the soy produced all around the world that goes into, once again, feeding our next food. And there are people that around the world, they die of starvation. They do not have access to the food. And then there are issues. Then there is the market that says that a shipping container can cost $2,000, can cost $5,000. But once again, this is not a matter of adding 50 cents or $1 more to the product you buy in your supermarket. This determines the feasibility for a farmer that maybe has a contract. Imagine many farmers, they farm livestock under a specific contract, maybe because they need some cash flow at the beginning, and they are quite tight with these contracts, but at the end, they cannot get the production done, or they cannot get the profit because unexpected conditions make their feed unavailable or very, very expensive. And I was reading a news like in Nigeria, in the last 6 months, 20% of the farmers decided to reduce or call to the end of their activity because the feed cost was or inaccessible or too expensive. And this slide, it doesn't show a situation that is even better, because if before we were just considering how unfair would be to apply work, water usage, chemicals, and so on to a land that then cannot be used for other activities, to a land that then it's in some cases not vital like before, land that, when it's subject to intensive agriculture, is also releasing CO2, is polluting. Well, that before were considerations on how fair is this phenomenon. But this is the scenario of tomorrow. So in somehow that was the past, but let's see what the future says. The future says that the food insecurity and the climate change for some areas of the planet will hit strongly the population, with a percentage of the population undernourished that is equivalent to those figures that you see. And the bigger one, it says that it could be between the 35 and the 70%. So some areas of our planet can, if things don't change, if the right strategies are not considered and taken in action at the right moment, can really see some tragic scenarios. Because then there is the percentage of population undernourished, and there is the hunger and the climate vulnerability index that it goes on the color of the countries, where the most red are very high. So it amplifies even more the possibility of the population undernourishment. And what is the continent that, as always, is the one that is most heated is Africa. Unfortunately, Africa and Asia in these projections seems to not be destined to have a good time in the future. Again, what might be the reasons? Because then at a certain point, you might also wonder, what are the reasons? Yeah, the reasons are mean temperature, extreme events, drought, heavy rainfall, floodings, tropical storms, changes in health and nutrition, melting glaciers, heat waves, CO2 fertilization, mean precipitation. So there are plenty of parameters that have been considered in these projections. So I hope they are not accurate, or I hope that action will be taken very soon. Again, this is from a Business Insider source, and it says that the World Health Organization declares that every decade a warmer planet will decrease the amount of food that we are able to produce around the globe by 2%. Imagine, with a growing population, the decline of the food production. In case that doesn't sound like a lot, it means that in the next 10 years, we will lose 4,440,000 metric tons of food. Wow. 1 ton weight, a little over 2,200 pounds. Here is how the problem will progress as the world warms. First, crop pests and pathogens will spread to warmer, drier areas where they haven't been a problem before. The problem will especially be acute across Africa and South Asia, which also happens to be where much of the world's food is produced. There will be, I have to move my image. Okay, global yields of wheat, corn, and millet will drop. Researchers estimate they will be plumbed nearly 10% by 2050. So there is a drop of the 10% in terms of the main cereal now recognized. As the amount of food we are producing drops, the demand will rise, and rapidly expanding population will add to the demand, pushing it up to above 40% by the mid-century. In this high demand scenario, the price of the rice and corn will double. The lack of proper nutrition will affect children acutely, severely stunting development. Malnutrition is expected to moderately stunt the growth of an additional 3.6 million children worldwide and severely stunt the growth of another 3.9 million children across the globe, according to the World Health Organization. Well, this is not an apocalypse scenario. This is what experts are forecasting if the climate change progress in its way and if all the current parameters are not adjusted. So the situation is not really easy. We have seen that actually there is I don't have the title to say a misuse of the land that we have available, but we see that our food is actually the feed for animals that besides are not efficient. Remember the second slide where you have seen the cow, and that is not only the proportion of the land occupied, it's also the feed conversion rate. So eventually you are giving to a cow 10 kg of feed in order to get that kg of protein that you want. But imagine how you can nourish yourself with 10 kg of, I don't know, soy or any other thing. But like, we like the meat. I like the meat. I don't want to be forced to become vegan tomorrow. But on the other hand, I see this scenario and I understand that something should change. So where this change can come? The change could come from that 500 million hectares that we have seen being dedicated to the livestock feeding, because that can be dedicated to the production of cereals, to the production of soy, to the production of food for humans. And the question is, how do we produce the feed? How do we generate protein, fat, and other nutrients that are necessary for the livestock activity, the livestock farming? And the answer can come from not very far, just behind your corner, just in every country, in every city, in every rural area. And the answer can be from the secondary organic matter that have not been addressed properly at the end of their cycle today. So the next feed for our animals can be the manure from the same livestock farming or from obestic like animal maintaining, or from the food processing industry. There is an entire word related to the bycatch. Fishermen go and fish, but unfortunately what they raise up in the net or whatever is the modality of fishing they use, it's not always what they wish to have. It's not always what the market requires. And in some cases, imagine 70% of what is raised from the net is a bycatch. So a fish that cannot be commercialized, or it's a fish that doesn't have a commercial interest. So imagine fish that is wasted because you don't want it, or because the law doesn't allow to sell that kind of fish. So those are a lot of proteins, I can guarantee you. And then there are the markets. There are the local markets, there are the supermarkets, and here is not reported, but imagine all the restaurants, all the hotels that also provide meals to the customers, and simply the household organic waste. So I don't think we need to take another hectare of the Amazonian forest in order to feed our animals. And honestly, I still want to continue to eat meat sometimes. The solution that can allow everyone to have feed locally produced, available from a source that is actually in many cases a problem, because we know what happens to that waste when it's not properly treated. After some days, it can become the incubator of pathogens. It can release bad odors. It can generate gas emissions. And well, in the best of the cases, it costs us a lot of money because of the waste fee, or it costs us because of one day the bioremediation of a land that has been severely polluted. And let's not forget that the soil permeates the leachates, and in many cases, with the accumulation of organic waste, we are also polluting our water source. And again, water is fresh water is a limited resource. So Hermetia illucens, called by me blue wings, but the general name is black soldier fly. So in the second round picture, you can see why it's called black soldier fly, but in the first one, you can understand why I decided to name it blue wings. Blue is the color of the sustainability, and there are big hopes around this insect activity. Insect that has a very quick life cycle. On the left, you have the adult that in a few days mates and lays the eggs that are those white thin spots in the cardboard. So in the second round picture, you can see already thousands and thousands of these eggs laid by the female adult fly. And then these invisible eggs release neonates larvae that every day eats up to 2-3 times their weight. So in ideal conditions, what you see, these invisible eggs from the second picture will become these big larvae. Well, these are a little bit bigger. I don't know how you can see them on your screen. To my desktop screen, they look a little bit bigger than the real measure. But I tell you, an egg is less than 1 millimeter, and these larvae in the third picture is 2 centimeters, and all of these in 10 days, where you can feed these larvae with actually the waste you have. And they will absorb all the nutrients in such a short amount of time that bacteria, the bad bacteria, the one that usually cause that reactions that we don't like, will just wonder where the waste is gone. Where are the nutrients for me to propagate? Because I don't have any, and I I need to propagate. I need to feed myself with something. And then at the end of the cycle, the fatten larvae becomes darkened and is ready to hide itself in a quiet place in order to pupate and then become the fly again. And all this life cycle is relatively very short. It's within 2 months. And imagine that a female adult lays hundreds of eggs. So you can start little and then you can upscale, and in a matter of nothing, you might have a colony of bioagents working at your service in order to reduce the waste and control the emissions, and also generate an important protein and fat source available for you in a few days. So no more need of soy that has to come to the other world side, when it comes at the price that you can afford. Okay, this is a projections done already 4 years ago, and it says that black soda fly market is worth 2.5 billion by 2030. This is because the black soda fly larvae not only can be involved in the protein meal, in the oil dried larvae production, in the oil, but also in the fertilizer and in the chitin production. And the application are in the animal feed, in the agriculture, in the pet food, in the pharmaceutical, and in the cosmetics. So imagine an insect that, by the way, is also all around the world spread. So it's already present in the nature, creating a business so valuable and so vast and available in theory for everyone. This is a slide that I liked. I just got the screenshot from YouTube. So if you Google, if you search it on YouTube, scraps to soil final presentation, like, man, you might find it. It's still there. And yeah, there are some point to correct, because you don't produce the compost. Compost is another thing. You produce eventually fertilizer. But I like the idea to see in one slide a mountain of waste. It doesn't seem to be all food waste, but let's imagine that is all food waste. And a young entrepreneur that decides to start this business and out of nothing can produce chicken feed, can produce fertilizer, can produce even biofuel, because many studies are addressing the oil extracted from these larvae as one of the best for producing biodiesel. Simply like the length and the composition of the fatty acids chain is appropriated for an easy esterification reaction. So it comes easier. And this means that producing biofuels would be cheaper, would be more eco-friendly, because the reaction should be less aggressive in terms of chemical use or in terms of eventually percentage. And this is something to consider since we are flagging the need of biofuels. And in Europe, we might have biofuels in our or like a fossil fuels, but in the reality, I don't think we ever matched what the standards were requiring so far, because it was not feasible. It was not even possible to have all the biofuels necessary. So if all the European countries and America would respect the percentage that they were requiring in terms of biofuel presence in the fossil fuel, there would be not enough biofuel, not considering the fact that it's not economically viable. And here there are some applications. So we moved from a scenario where a vast area of land is occupied, where the food, what I naturally consider as a food is given to our livestock that are not efficient, not better efficient. It's not that you give 1 kg of soy and then you get 1 kg of pig meat or any other animal. Well, when you go to fish and to chickens, the efficiency is quite high. There are some unsuspectable animals, even rabbits are a lot more efficient than pork, than pigs, and especially than cows. But it's still a food that I imagine it's been removed from my table and that goes to my next meal. and this is not sustainable. This is not fair, and this is not what should be, especially in consideration of what is the future scenario. So we should prepare ourselves today in order to better cope the challenges of tomorrow. And usually humans don't look so much farther. Usually they wait for the problems to come. I have the case of Singapore under my eyes. I have been in Singapore until 1 week ago, and I was there for 1 week also because I joined the Insects to Feed the World, the most important insects related event, and it was incredible how this market is growing efficiently and also with numbers that are very important. The case of Singapore says that Singapore, a very modern country, fantastic, well organized, but Singapore was importing 99% of the food. When the pandemic arrived, despite all the wealth that the Singaporean population has, they had no food. Well, it was not a huge emergency, something that maybe, I don't remember, has given some concern for days, for sure, not for weeks. And somehow they managed how to cope it after a little bit. But like it was, hey, we are a super developed, innovative country, and suddenly we have our shelves that are empty. And what is that? That this should never, ever happens again. And now Singapore has launched this very ambitious plan to have 30% of food internal production by 2030. Well, they are a little country, they are visionary, they have resources, they are people that when they decide to do something, most of the time they do it, and they do it also well. But imagine that they had to pass through a situation of, we can call it difficulty, maybe not extreme difficulty, because I repeat, they didn't have a lack of food for weeks. This is what I remember. But humans tend to underestimate what are the issues of the future. And with those scenarios, with the climate change hitting more and more Africa, areas like Africa and Asia, and with the unsustainability of the soil production and the land occupation. And by the way, it's not that they can increase the production a lot more than this, because it's already like pumping that land at the maximum, killing all the biodiversity. Like imagine also the impact of the monocrops on the biodiversity. Big animals and small animals. In the monoculture, nothing really stays well. The only thing that are benefiting of monoculture, and that we are realizing that because it's more and more emerging on the news, are the pests. You create a monoculture, you create tens and hundreds of hectares, you create the same crop farmed in a very extensive way without a differentiation with the other vegetal forms, and then you create the perfect environment for a pest of that plant organism. That's how the Cavendish banana is coming to the extinction, because there is no way all around the world that agronomists can stop this mold that is raising down, that is completely cutting down all the Cavendish banana plantations around the world. And I assume is the same for the coffee. And It's the same for many other monocrops. So coming back to our insect, what is this slide saying? This slide is saying that Ocean, a premium supermarket brand, decided to really understand what is putting on the market a product that is farmed with the insects. The result is this label, Poisson nourri à l'insecte. So the supermarket chain decided to make available different kind of fish for the customers. And the result was that the fish was simply more healthy. Most of the time, when we go to the supermarket, we do not see the head of the fish. It's been chopped before the freezing process, because it's the area where you see most of the most of the issue when a fish is not properly farmed, or when a fish is, I cannot say sick, because in theory, if the fish is sick, is not commerciable. But for many reasons, the head is chopped, and maybe because it doesn't look very appealing. And in this case, the fish was more healthy. The color of the meat was better, and the taste was better. So imagine a customer that is more convinced by looking at the whole fish, having better colors, not those colors that sometimes are improved with the artificial pigmentation. I don't know, with the natural or whatever kind of colorants, but it's for sure in many cases not the true color of the fish. And then the taste. The taste doesn't lie. The taste is good, unless they alterate also the taste. But then how much this fish should cost? Well, there are some fish that are expensive enough, and you all know what kind of fish maybe I'm talking about, that they make it looking better and taste better and so on, so on. But I don't think anyone wants that kind of fish. But let's continue to the marvelous wonders that are associated to the insects. Insects have been involved in special studies for some therapies. And insect, in some cases, these maggots can even recognize in open wounds, those kind of wounds that typically do not heal very well, and they need specific antibiotics, and sometimes it's not even working properly because you have a multiple fraction of your bones. And but anyway, doctors have discovered that using these maggots and releasing them in a proper way in open wounds, these maggots can eat that tissue, that kind of that meat that in somehow then would allocate diseases, would not certainly help with the healing of a wound. And then there are there are missions on other planets that involve the insects. And then there is all the concept of enzymes extractions, because these insects have these biomolecules that have properties similar to superior and inferior organisms, and enzymes that can be applied in biotechnological process under many circumstances. And then chitosan. Chitosan has an antimicrobial property, can be used in order to produce biomaterial, sometimes for prostheses. It is also, if you make it affordable, possible to use it in the packaging, in the cosmetics, and in pharmaceutics in general. But then we have also the possibility to produce organic semiconductor. Imagine the industry of the electronics, how is polluting, and hopefully one day we can substitute all of them with organic material from the semiconductor. Okay, and then we want to produce biodiesel. Let's do it with the insects. Usually there is a degreasing from the organic waste and feeding the defatted waste to the insect. It's possible to have a new fat, a new oil production that then can give biodiesel. So you produce biodiesel from the decreased bio waste, and then you can produce biodiesel from the oil of the larvae. Some people might say, hey, but we have anaerobic digestion. We believe in this kind of bioprocess, and we need energy, and we need biogas, and we need electricity. Yes, well, this study says that combining both the things, it might be the most economically efficient or most profitable activity for both. Besides, anaerobic digestion is not an easy process. Many people talk about that, especially in a very small sites, but the efficiency that you can get and the outcome is very little. So also in terms of what you can load inside an anaerobic digester is not so versatile if you want to push on the performance, as sometimes is misdeclared. So having a pre or a post activity with the black soldier fly, depending on how efficient is the anaerobic digestion, can add further value without removing anything from what was the previous process. And then here it is, a publication, because sometimes you need to be sure that these studies have been carried. Low-cost technology for recycling agro-industrial waste into nutrient-rich organic fertilizer using the black soldier fly. Here is a study that says that not only these larvae can absorb the nutrient and then can generate protein and fat, but also the residue from the insect activity, it's called frass, and can be a good nutrient-rich organic fertilizer. Not compost, but a fertilizer with good NPK values. Available locally, because these presentations are turning around the animal feed. But most of you should not believe that the fertilizer, that nitrogen-rich, phosphor-rich fertilizer comes behind the corner. No, most of the time, it's just 1 or 2 countries in all around the world that basically master the market, decide the price, and decides if it's a good year for the farmers or not. And this cannot be accepted. We should all think sustainable, and we should all think in a way that, how can I say, every green entrepreneur has the possibility to work the land without the fear that tomorrow can fail, can lose the investment, because unpredictable conditions are not allowing him to proceed. Okay, so we need these studies. Unfortunately, like what I was saying before, it's just my word. But then studies come and say black soldier fly inclusion guaranteed satisfactory productive performance, carcass rates, and overall meat quality, thus suggesting that black soldier fly could be a promising new feed ingredients for chicken. This is a study of Laura Gasco, an expert in livestock nutrition. And by the way, she will be one of the hosts of Insect to Feed the World Turin 2026. Again, opportunities. We can even integrate the fatty acids inside the larvae and retain these omega-3 fatty acids in order to feed our livestock. Well, in theory, these larvae can also be human food, but let's say that we are feeding our animals with the omega-3, and we know how important are omega-3 for certain kind of livestock, for the health of some animals. And we are not only talking about livestock. These larvae can also enter the pet food market. It's not can also. They are almost violently, I would say, entering the pet food market. And today, there is almost one brand commercializing in each country and a pet food with some insect more or less presence in the composition. Again, where all of this comes, it comes from what is available, from what is around the corner, from what should be necessarily reconsidered in terms of how we treat it, because it cannot be like it was. And in many cases, it cannot be like it is. So let's bring this organic waste into a circular situations where we have many bioprocesses. From the biotechnological point of view, the more are the bioprocesses that generates goods available for the human benefits, the better it is, because in this way it will become more convenient for humans to adopt this kind of processes rather than others that make the world unsustainable, that makes the world having counted days in terms of when we consumed those resources that can be regenerated all year round. And very often we see that some countries have exploited their available renewable resources in less than 6 months, and for the remaining 6 months they are running on non-renewable resources. In all of this, Blue Wings Composting comes for providing the distribution of sustainable solutions, the advisory on plans and projects, and always to support research and development in novel bio-innovations. These are some of the services, and this is a very quick explanation. I cannot see the messages, even though I see that there are quite some, and I'm sure somebody is wondering, okay, looks fantastic, and I understand that the waste generation is a real issue, and I don't want to support this unsustainable monocrop farming. And so, but is this insect easy to farm, easy to raise? And the question is all answered in this slide. Basically, for farming these black soldier fly larvae, you need a properly pre-processed. Sometimes you don't even need a pre-processing of your waste. That can be manure, can be city waste, can be sometimes also a little percentage of meat can be included in this so-called matter, properly prepared for the larvae. Typically it's called the substrate. And then you add the small larvae and you wait 1 or 2 days activity. And if the temperature, the humidity, the air exchange are optimal or suboptimal, you will see these larvae getting fattened, bigger, and consuming what was initially a sludge that little by little will become a thin grain. It will become like a sand that you can easily separate from these big fattened protein and fat-rich larvae. obviously, this is an explanation. This is a very easy explanation. There is also who prefers every day to add a little bit of food and then to feed the larvae in a kind of feed batch way. This is the explanation of a batch situation. And here it comes, the technology, because you can farm these larvae almost everywhere in the world. Tropical areas are the most preferable, but then there are seasons of the years where it rains constantly, where the humidity is too high or it's too low, where the temperature can touch the 40 degrees or can go below 20 degrees, where you can be you can be in a situations where there are predators or yes, we might close the microphone. Okay. Let's see. Okay, the microphone is being closed. Okay, so what I was saying is that the insect activity can be carried also outdoor in a very easy way. But when you want to make it a serious business, then it's important to have a standardization of the process, to have a constant production, to be sure that if you take a commitment with the farmer for the fresh, the fertilizer, or for the larvae, for the chicken feeding, you can actually answer your commitment to you can cover your agreement with the farmer. And in most of the cases, conditions do not allow that, or conditions do not allow to have a very compact, high performance production, or conditions do not allow to have a low intensity labor in an activity that, if is not carried properly, can involve many people every day for a relatively small production. So the technology in this case can allow, in the space of a container, to place hundreds of trays, and this is equivalent to the loading of tons of waste, where you reduce this waste, hopefully also minimizing the impact that this waste can have. And in this way, you obtain the larvae and you obtain the fresh. The system controlled by this smart mind can monitor the temperature inside, can monitor the humidity, the air exchange. It can control the lights. The larvae most of the time are retained in the crates because the lights are on, and larvae don't like to be exposed to the light. I assume because most of the time, if larvae is exposed, a predator comes and just grabs it. And so in this way, you minimize your labor intensity, and you maximize the reliability of your production and the quality of your product. Yeah, see, here are some specifics that maybe now are not necessary, but this is my experience in India last year. I am in India now, by the way. I said I was in Singapore until 1 week ago, but now I am in India for 2 weeks. I'm changing city every 3 days, and I'm having 2 meetings every day with insect entrepreneurs or insect enthusiasts, people that are evaluating the possibility to become black soldier fly related actors. And this is an expert. This is these pictures are witnessing what was the realization of this technological chamber with this young team that has been trained for some weeks, and that now is able to process tons and tons of waste weekly in a very reduced space, and in conditions that in some cases are really prohibitive for any kind of activity. One month ago, 2 months ago, it was 45 degrees and the humidity was so high that people could not even go around. But this container was normally producing these larvae. Imagine your operators working every day in this kind of conditions and not doing well at the risk of their own health. And then there is a picture also of the larvae. These are larvae already post-processed that have been cooked. Yeah, they are typically called puppet larvae, and in this way they can be stored for some days and distribute as animal feed. Again, this market is new, but there are many entrepreneurs that from all around the world are investing in this sector and are believing that sustainability this time can make the difference, and sustainability can help everyone to actually becoming profitable. Yes, so there is also a dedicated software for those who want to become insect entrepreneur, where they can log in, where they can add the data related to what they are collecting today in terms of larvae, what they are collecting in terms of fertilizer, what they need in terms of eggs, and all the other information that an insect entrepreneur needs. And yes, as I was saying before, in India there were plus 45, and here it's me last January at minus 40 degrees. I can guarantee you minus 40 degrees, it's a temperature where you don't wanna keep yourself. And I was in this way partially covered just for the time of this picture. This is a case of an off-grid, completely off-grid solar-powered system that is allowing the conversion of the pig manure in a farm of Kenya, and is in this way generating new feed for the same livestock. Insects can also open to a different kind of market. The business is not only related to commercial products, but it's also a business related to the education. Many of you eventually do not consider insects appealing because as maybe it happened to me actually. Now recalling what was my young education, I don't remember that I have been educated to the importance of the insects in the ecosystem, as also in other activities. Like insects has been always not appealing, and for these reasons, we tend to not consider them, even when in some communities insects are part of the traditional meals. So look at the effect of the modernization, how is removing sometimes the bad, but most of the time even the good that our traditions have inside and that have been matured for centuries. So with this, I want to say that it's important also to create education around the insects, education about the sustainability, because if we don't teach how to properly manipulate the waste, if we don't show what are the effects of leaving the waste somewhere and then waiting for the nature to make its own work, then people do not understand. But who are the people that typically understand? Elders, most of the time they mature an opinion that to be changed. But I believe the future is in the hands of the youths, and that's why when it's possible, I like to join projects where I can actually put myself in a in a close in a close idea sharing. I like to brainstorm with the young minds. I like those moments of the why this, why that. And it's amazing. I can find the best answers. And why I decided to be part of this Tuca Compostori project granted by the Lati Green European Capital. It's because I had amazing partners like Smart and Lean and like the UK Finnish Research Institute that allowed me to realize to this small black sodefly larvae bioreactor. But you will never wonder where this experience has been carried. So these are the screenshot from YouTube taken from a live camera for 2 weeks, and all of these, and you can see like the larvae consuming the potato, the tomato, some carrots, consuming the bread, consuming the pasta, and then generating the frass and getting bigger and bigger. Yeah, maybe the size is not evident in these slides, but yes, they were certainly getting bigger and bigger. Well, all of this has been realized by children. We might be scared, we might be disgusted, we might think that it's complicated, but if we give a little bit of knowledge to the young generations, and well, I think I can consider most of you already a young generation because the age gap is already quite big. If we share the right knowledge, what is possible to do, it's really unbelievable. So these 12 years old students have been measuring every day the waste taken from the canteen given to the larvae growth. And at the end, they had these fattened larvae and the fertilizer. And from these larvae, the ducks of the lake, the fish of the lakes, the chicken of I don't know who, maybe the guardian of the school, I don't know. And then the fertilizer is being used in the garden of the school. So it was a circular project run within a classroom. So you can imagine how the school director, how the parents, how the other teachers were curious, afraid, and actually the live streaming was quite successful because there were many people every day looking at these larvae like they were pets, but simply they were getting bigger out of the canteen waste. And this project, it's been always been finalist at the national STEM projects, because obviously the larvae compost improved the learning environment and offered the new ways for students to study school subjects. And this in the specific was natural science, biology, and other subjects, IT, social studies, and healthcare, because then you were connected to the internet, and then you were also having a kind of interaction, collaboration between several members of the school class, and then also understanding this kind of logic, it goes into the health activity, and then more and more. And this project, then it's been also in the competition for the European STEM project. So it was a very successful project, and I'm very proud that I was part of. So again, here there is a slide where the larvae look bigger and the guys made a quite important load. So you can see all the larvae celebrating, especially around that banana. It seems to be still full, but then the larvae eventually in 10 minutes will finish all of it. And yeah, these are the informations. So I hope I enlightened you on what is the production, the unsustainable production, the risky, the unsustainable, and the unfair production of the feed today. And what are the numbers related to this market? What are the risks related to this globalization? being global, it's fantastic, but when there is a mismatch into the system, usually those who pay are always the weakened, or those that can already not afford to pay another mistake. So it's important that you have seen what is wrong, what are the possibilities, and actually how easy can be to run them. So as Insect Blue as a Blue Wings Composting, we always are open to new partners, to new investors, and to especially governmental and private subjects for support. And the suggestion is for all of you and for all of your customers that innovation costs money, but the same costs failing. So remind to your customers that before everyone was wearing a watch, but then the time of the phone arrived and watch were not valuable anymore. So people should decide if they are embracing still they are taking a watch or they want to switch to a phone. Don't lose your time and money and switch to sustainable solutions. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Saverio. Thank you for the very, educative class that you've given us on, sustainable solutions. And very interesting that something that I've learned is that how can you be able to do insect farming in a very smart way? Then how can you be able to engage in waste management using the insects in a circular economy system? And more so, what are the products that you can be able to get from insect farming? I know most of us here initially just knew about proteins and also nutrient fertilizer, but at least I've learned you can also be able to get biodiesel, you can be able to get omega-3 fatty acids, you can be able to get chitosan, you can also be able to get, organic semiconductors. I mean, these are new things that we've learned today. And part of this lesson and why we engage in some of these lessons is that number one, we get to be able to learn new things. We get to be able to learn how to innovate with what we have, and also we get to learn how better we can be able to do, to continue practicing our restoration work. And thank you so much for being able to address all that. I don't know if you have any questions. I know I am cognizant of that our time is running out, but I think we have one question on the Q&A. I think Vincent is asking maybe what can you talk about circular economy in a very summarized way? Maybe in 2 sentences, what can you talk about circular economy in a very summarized way?
Circular economy is necessarily the future. We have to forget the linear logic that the modern time have adopted for decades, because today is not possible to have this production line that starts from the raw material, transform it, consume it, and dump it. This is no longer possible. We see that this model of production has carried the humanity at the point of no return. We cannot go any longer with that. Working with natural resources, processing that, converting that into something that is of the human use, and then retransforming it over and over and over without burning, without digging, without releasing in the environment, but making still something out of that. It's the way. You can have 20 different production starting from the same biomaterial. You just have to develop experience and be conscious of what you are doing. Obviously, you young entrepreneurs have also to educate your customers, as I did in that experience with the students. So the word is mine, the word is yours, and the word should be circular.
Thank you so much, Saverio, for that summary. And I also see another question from Jermaine asking if cultivated insects are edible by humans.
Yes, according to the country, you could be more or less, but I think there are tens and tens of insects that are today consumed. Countries like Vietnam, Thailand, like Mexico, and also many countries in the east southern part of Africa, as I have information, are everyday consumed. So you don't have to wonder if there are species of insects that can be directly a food source for human consumption. They already are. And also the black soda fly, the one you have seen. Some of my customers have consumed that, and potentially it's a food. EU regulations will not address that for the coming years, but maybe, who knows, in 10 years, also black soda fly can be considered as a food.
Yeah, thank you so much, Saverio. I don't know, I see the time has run out on us, but maybe we can, if there's one person with a very burning question who wants to ask it live, this is your chance. Otherwise, if we don't have anybody with a question, I'll maybe call upon my colleagues, either Samuel, Fabiana, or Amanda, in case you have any updates or final comments. You can be able to unmute yourself and raise them. Samuel, any comments? Amanda?
Yeah, thanks. Thanks, Victor. Hope you can hear me.
Yes, we can.
Yeah, first is to appreciate Saverio for sharing those great insights. I've joined in the middle of the conversation, but I've been able to get one or two new things from you, Saverio, sharing. Apologies, I was actually in a different meeting. But yeah, thanks so much on behalf of WRI and equally on behalf of the team here. I remember when I asked you if you could share, you were open to share with us. And even you went ahead to suggest a topic which resonates very well with most of the businesses that are present here. So thank you, Saverio. And to the cohort, I know we did actually have our final session on Tuesday for the 2024 cohort. And here again, this marks our, I would say, last session for peer-to-peer session. And here we are looking at those weekly sessions. Moving forward, we are not going to have weekly session for peer-to-peer sessions. But rather we are actually going to organize on a monthly basis at least one peer-to-peer session on different topics that you propose, or rather equally on us looking at what you have been able to share with us in the past. We'll be able to organize these sessions for you. So we are actually going to have one in August. We are going to communicate the date and be able to mark that on your calendar early enough so that you can be able to plan accordingly. And the topics that are in line, I think the next one should be on carbon markets. That's one topic that we need to cover. We also need to cover another topic around monitoring, reporting, and verification, looking at different tools, different systems that can help you be able to track your restoration work on the ground. And that one is to build on a session that we were supposed to have, restoration monitoring 101. And then I also foresee a session where we get to come and be able also to learn from entrepreneurs who are very good at pitching. So we're actually going to have a mock pitch event here so that you can be able to learn. So we kindly request that you continue to be part of the program. As we said, at the end of the day, for 2024 cohort, we're actually going to issue certificate on the final day of the program so that all of us can be able to graduate together. Otherwise, thank you so much. And again, we'll have this on a monthly basis. Thank you. And yeah, back to you, Victor.
Bye. Bye.
Yeah, thank you so much, Samuel. Amanda, do you have any comments or any announcements? If not, I cannot see. I see Amanda maybe doesn't have any comments. If not, thank you so much, participants. I know we've been here every other week, engaging in the peer-to-peer sessions. We really hope that these sessions have been, of help to you. We hope that you've been able to gather 1 or 2, 3 things that you are going to go and implement in your businesses. We hope that you've learned, and moving forward, again, as Samuel has said, let us engage in, the monthly peer-to-peer sessions. And thank you so much again for being here every other week. Thank you to our speakers who have been here, and thank you, Saverio. And looking forward to see you during our next peer-to-peer session in August. Otherwise, thank you so much. You can all unmute you can all put your videos on. I'm requesting all of you to unmute, and we can all say hi and goodbye.
It was my pleasure to be part of this webinar, and I thank Samuel for the opportunity. And yeah, I'm looking forward to discover this new entrepreneur.
Au revoir.
Yes, thank you.
Bye.
Goodbye. Thank you.
Très intéressant.
Bye.